We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show. We're taking your questions. If you have any questions you'd like to send them to the Sheikh, inshallah, you can send them via the WhatsApp, the email address. You can call us live in the studio, 0203 515 0199. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section. Inshallah, the technical team will be able to send them to me, and the Sheikh will be able to discuss all of your questions. I'm your host, Hussein Shia. And joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are we this evening? How's your fast going?
Taqabbalallahu as-siyam.
Wa minna minkum inshallah, Sheikhna. Sheikhna, before we answer the questions, we always go through a little dua. It being a Thursday night, normally people recite Dua and Quran on a Thursday night. Are you going to take a little extraction from Dua and Quran and explain?
Inshallah.
Tafadhal, bismillah.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. Indeed, Thursday nights, believers usually recite, around the year, Dua Kumail on this blessed night. It is a blessed night, Laylatul Jumu'ah and Yawm al-Jumu'ah as well. But of course, the emphasis would be more when it's the holy month of Ramadan, for example. In Dua Kumail, we recite the following lines: Allahumma ghfir li adh-dhunub allati tahtiku al-asam. Oh Allah, forgive those sins in which they tear apart the safeguards. You see sometimes a country or a city or a village living in peace and harmony, but suddenly the war breaks out and becomes a war zone. God forbid, na'udhu billah, as we saw in Iraq, previously Syria, for example, Yemen currently. We don't know what sins that cause such devastations and war and destruction. Allahumma ghfir li ad-dhunub allati tunzilu an-niqam. Oh Allah, forgive me those sins in which they draw down hardship, difficulties. Again, sometimes you have earthquakes, for example, other signs, other means in which would cause a lot of, let's say, damage to that city or a village, and so forth. Again, there are specific sins for each of them. There are specific sins which causes such devastations. You have, for example, the spread of lies, the spread of adultery, na'udhu billah, drinking alcohol, for example. When that spreads in the society, in the believing Muslim society, of course the devastations and the calamities would pour on that society because of those sins committed in public, and there's nobody or few people would come out and say that this is wrong, this is haram, and so forth. There's no amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar.
Yes.
And that will, of course, bring down the bala because of Allah's disobedience by those who claim to be the believers and believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. Allahumma ghfir li ad-dhunub allati tahbisu ad-du'a. Oh Allah, forgive me those sins in which prevent or hold back the dua. That is even worse. That sometimes you have a dictator leading that Muslim ummah for 30, 40 years, and we pray dua every night, every let's say occasion, and nothing happens. And that's because of those sins in which brings down such calamities and prevents even our dua to be accepted or to be answered. And you see that dictator, that leader in the Muslim ummah, he stays in his throne and power for 30, 40 years. Why? Because of the sins of that community, that nation, which committed, and there's nobody else around to refrain them from this or these sins and forbidden acts. So we have to go back to Allah Azza wa Jalla, go back to Allah and perform the wajibat, refrain the muharramat. If there's a haram committed in public, we have to tell people this is haram. Nahi an munkar, to forbid evil and enjoying good, and that Allah Azza wa Jalla would inshallah bless this society and community with prosperity inshallah, and happiness in dunya and akhirah as well
Inshallah. Ahsan. Sheikhna, questions coming in. Let's go straight to the YouTube questions. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Should we listen to those who say they control jinn and write ta'weez from YouTube?
You see, you have to make sure that you speak to the right person, you see the right person. Not everyone is honest with his claims. You have to make sure that you find the right person. It's very difficult to, some people even do it for free. They do the dua, everything, for fi sabilillah. I know some people, they wouldn't do it for the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal, and they don't want anything else, because they have such love to Ahlul Bayt, to the ad'iyah, to the ziyarat, to the Holy Quran. So they would do it for the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal. Try to find such people who are believing individuals, sincere with their works, and not use the financial means to gain more money and even fame and wealth.
Personally, Sheikh, if you were to ask me, I think most of them are just talking rubbish, to be honest. I think 90%, probably 95% are just, have no authority, no experience, no skills, no nothing. It's just a scam. Next from YouTube, Sheikh, assalamu alaikum. A woman when praying, should our feet be covered?
It should be covered if there is non-mahram around. Otherwise, it's not wajib in salah.
From WhatsApp, assalamu alaikum, brother and beloved Sheikh. If someone travels to another place and he will not be there for more than 10 days, can he fast and salah should be qasr?
What is important in travel, in safar, when you travel, if you reach that destination, that city, that village, if you want to fast and pray in full, you have to make an intention of staying 10 days in that location, iqamah, to reside in that place without going to any other cities and locations and travel. Then you can fast and basically do your salah as well in full. I remember when I went to Mashhad a couple of years ago, in the month of Ramadan, I did iqamah, 10 days iqamah in Mashhad. So I used to fast and pray full salah. So that is a possibility, of course.
Sheikh, now we've got a phone call, inshallah. Let's try and help this viewer with their query. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. I hope everything is going good and you're good. Alhamdulillah, inshallah.
Inshallah, thank you very much, brother.
I've just got a question about dua. So obviously the duas that have been prescribed by our imams and like special duas, for example, like he was talking about, dua kumail and long duas like Joshan and Kabir, like duas like that. So I was just wondering, so obviously Laylatul Qadr is coming up and obviously special days are coming up, and I was just wondering what is better to do. Is it better to pray just the Arabic or also the Arabic or the English? But if you don't have that much time, is it better just to create the English translation so you understand the dua? What's the best thing here?
Okay. Thank you very much, brother, and inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your dua, inshallah, during these holy nights, inshallah. Thank you very much for your question. Sheikhna, the du'as that we recite during these holy nights and so forth, the brother mentioned sometimes there's not enough time to go through the whole of the Arabic. Is it okay to go through the English so that you get the meaning and maybe that can help strengthen your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and so forth?
Indeed, I said this before, that it's important that we understand the meaning of the dua. That's very important. Even the Holy Quran. I can read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna a'taynak al-Kawthar, and I don't know what Kawthar is, what a'taynak is, for example. What's inna? What does it mean? Understanding the meanings of these verses and of these ad'iyah is great. That's what we have to do basically when we read the ad'iyah, the ziyarat, the Holy Quran, to understand the meaning, the exegesis of the Quran, the tafsir, the meanings of the ad'iyah, and so forth. It's very good. But however, the principle or the basis remains with the actual dua phrases in Arabic. That will remain, of course, the most important or the main in terms of reciting, understanding. For the brothers who can't understand or for any reason, they can play it, listen to the words in Arabic, and look at the translation, as I've said before.
Wow, English. That's actually really good.
But it's good. Anyhow, if you can't read it, it's too long. as I've said, in the means of revising the dua is very good, because one of the a'mals in which mentioned by many ulama that what to do in Layl Qadr, for example, is talabul ilm, to seek knowledge. One of the most important a'mal in these nights is to seek knowledge. So with the intention of seeking knowledge, that would be a great idea. Yeah.
Inshallah. Okay, thank you. Sheikh, we've got another phone call, inshallah, we'll be able to help this individual with a query. Assalamu alaikum, you're live on Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum, I just got a question. Do you have to, I know it's a bit basic question, but do you have to eat a date to open your fast?
Oh,
I
nice.
mean, what if you don't like dates?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for your question. May Allah
Thank you.
Allah accept all your fast and all your amal in this holy month. Inshallah, the Sheikh will answer the question. Sheikhna, is it necessary for us to open our fast with a date?
It's encouraged health-wise, in terms of the health-wise, as well as mentioned that to open your fast with dates, but it's not something you have to do. You can break your fast, open your fast with warm water, for example, also mentioned, warm water. In overall, I mean, it's up to you, but of course, I wouldn't neglect dates and warm water.
Okay,
inshallah.
I think that's quite important. So, is that the sunnah of Rasulullah, to open it with dates? And
It's mentioned, yes, that dates to be used as a means.
They also say it helps regulate your blood sugar. Dates is one of the best to help regulate your blood sugar and so forth. But technically, I mean, from Sharia, and you can technically open it with anything halal.
Anything else, halal.
Anything halal you can open it with. So
you can start straight with eating the rice, for example, or bread. I mean, it's not
chocolate
something issue. Yeah, it's not wajib to break with water or dates.
From YouTube, Sheikh, assalamu alaikum. Are feathers najis if you have feathers on your clothes?
Feathers of the birds, it's not najis, no.
Fair enough. No. Also from YouTube, I've always heard that when there is Quran, you should be listening. Is it meant Quran in general, listening on TV, or if someone is reciting the Quran in the same house? That's from YouTube. So whether Quran is being played audio, or whether someone is actually present and reciting the Quran, should you stay quiet and listen?
Of course, as a means of respect, when the words of Allah are being recited, وَأَنصِتُوا, listen with the reflection, with comprehension, that we listen to the Holy Quran, to these words. So important for the one to listen and not to talk with others and engage with the conversation when the Quran is being recited.
Sheikh, we've got another phone call from one of our viewers, inshallah, we'll be able to help them with this query. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome to Ahkam SOS. Your question, please.
Jazakumullah khair, Brother Ramadan Mubarak to you and Sheikh.
Thank you very much.
I have a quick question. If a person is mentally unwell, and I mean severely mentally unwell, where they have no understanding or grasp of things, for example, suffering from severe schizophrenia, do they, because they're unable to do things for themselves and have to be cared for all the time, are they obligated to pay the fidya for Ramadan, for being unable to fast, or are they exempt from that?
Thank you very much. Can I ask quickly, this person, can they differentiate between halal and haram, right and wrong?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. Inshallah, the Sheikh will answer it right now. Thank you. Sheikh, now someone's suffering from a clinical mental illness very severely, cannot distinguish between halal and haram, right and wrong. Are they obliged to pay the fidya for not fasting on the holy month of Ramadan?
That's a good question, because now the hukum of siyam has been waived from such individual. For the fidya, I have to check with the mas'ala, because to do with elderly, pregnant, breastfeeding, yes, they have to pay. Someone who's ill, for example, sick, they have to. But for this individual, because that's going to remain for, let's say, many years. Especially for this individual as a child, for example.
So for now, we can say they don't have to fast.
Definitely
they don't need to fast. But do they have to pay the fidya? We're going to have to do some research and
with the marja.
Inshallah, we'll do our research and get back to that question. We have another phone call, Sheikh. Shall we able to help another person with their query? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to Ahkam SOS. Please, your question to the Sheikh now.
Actually, I would like to actually more make of a statement, if that's okay, for the brothers and sisters around the world.
Inshallah.
They seem to have a bit of difficulties in understanding in where the khair and the shar is within us. And what we're doing at the moment is the way we live is like a normal life. But as we actually build up our iman, our khair, nice and slowly, and we actually follow all our pillars of the Sunnah and the Islam, the prayers, the reading of the Quran Kareem, the fasting, the zakat, all our pillars. And in this particular case here, where sin is very easy to do and khair is very hard to do. But as they slowly build up their khair, then khair is easy to do and shar becomes very hard to do. And if we can actually understand this particular type of point of view, then as the person's iman becomes stronger and stronger and stronger by watching what they say, what they see, what they hear, and how they actually go about their daily lives, and keeping everything halal, from paying your tax to making sure that you give a little bit, pay a little bit more, and don't shortchange anybody. And if someone else has made a mistake, it's like correct them and give them their haq. It becomes a lot harder then to cause a sin, rather than actually being able to be easy to make sin now and very hard to walk the path. But as soon as they start to walk the path, it's very hard to sin because they're watching themselves all the time and they're always aware of it. So it actually goes the opposite end. If that's easy enough now for people to understand, they will understand it from the scholar way, the way that we learn it. And if they're not, they don't have to be scholars. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all He wants is a person is to try. Just open the Quran Kareem every day. Read one word, one ayah. That's it. That's all He's after. He's not expecting anyone to learn it all off by heart.
Awesome. Thank you very much, brother, for your comments. I'm sure it will be very, very beneficial to our viewers. And inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your amal from yourself, from your family, from your community, inshallah, during these holy nights of Ramadan. And inshallah, please keep watching Ahkam SOS and Imam Hussein TV3. Thank you very much for your call.
Let me just add to the brother's comments. Jazakallah khairan, barakallah fi. What we have is known as the malaka. Malaka means a power or an ability in which the one can actually reach to the position that he wouldn't be committing sins anymore. Malakat al-taqwa, malakat al-ijtihad, ijtihad, that he can extract the hukum from the narrations, from the kitab and the sunnah and so forth, that you reach that stage that you can extract those ahkam from these verses or hadith, or taqwa, reaching that stage that you won't even commit a sin at all. So that's what we need, malaka, that's power, this capability that we avoid committing sins and doing khair, as he said, inshallah.
Ahsan, Sheikh. Now we've got another phone call on the line. Let's help our other viewer, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother. So I asked a question about the dua, but I've got this question about the Holy Quran. So I listened to the sermon of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the sermon was saying that one verse in the month of Ramadan of the Holy Quran is like a whole Quran in the other months. So then I was wondering, because Maulana was saying that we should understand the meanings of the Quran, but then now if I pray the Arabic and also the English, firstly it'll take longer for me to pray, meaning that I will be praying less Arabic So the meaning, so I was just wondering, what is better for me to do in the month of Ramadan? Should I just pray the Arabic meaning, so I'm completing more Holy Qur'ans, or should I understand the meanings of the verses I'm praying? What is more recommended?
Good question, brother. Thank you very much for your question, inshallah. I pray that you and the Quran become more affiliated and you understand the Quran better, inshallah. Inshallah, better than me, because I'm still learning day by day. Sheikh, now, a brilliant question here from our viewer. In regards to the holy month of Ramadan,
Yes.
first of all, what is the ajr and the thawab of reciting Quran in the holy month? And secondly, is it better to recite in Arabic for the ajr, or the English, or and any other language to understanding it, the concepts of the Quran?
I mean, the reward, as the brother mentioned about reciting a verse in the Holy Quran, of course, it refers to the Arabic verse and not the translation, as it is the Holy Quran, as it is revealed on the Prophet ﷺ. But for the one who can't understand the words or difficult to recite, as I've said, do their best, do his best to recite in Arabic, and then beside it, try to recite also the English or learn the English meanings of the Quran, which is very important as well. But I mean, he's free with this regard to see what he can, his capabilities. Can he recite more Arabic? That would be great and rewardable as well. If not, then he can switch to the English and try to understand the meanings of the Quran, inshallah.
Sheikh, now back to the YouTube question. Is it haram for women to show her hair to a male that has transitioned to a female fully?
So what does that mean exactly?
So this person now has probably gone through some surgical transformation. It was a male, it's now a female. As a practicing Muslim lady, can I show my hair to this person or not?
If it's with today's surgery, then he's still male. And if I'm a male, I want to change myself to a female, which is also haram to do so. But I'm still a male, even if I do some kind of surgeries. It's a mushkil, it's a problem.
Fair. From YouTube, can we eat vegetarian food made by Hindus? Can we go to such restaurants?
You see, the problem is if the cooker is actually a non-kitabi, other words, non-Muslim non-kitabi. Of course, any moisture or wetness touching the food would make the food najis, and that's a problem with it. In which there's a cook in which he would cook the food with his bare hands, for example, and he would do the vegetables with his bare hands. That's all makes the food najis. Sometimes it's on the shelf of the supermarket, and you never know who did it. It's all halal tahir, inshallah. كل شيء لك طاهر. But sometimes you know the chef, you know the cooker. It's problematic, to be honest.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Is it okay to have a cat in the house?
Yes, no issue with it at all.
Are latmiyat with shur halal?
As I said yesterday, it should be fine, as long as there's no words which are against the Bayt or the, for example, sometimes against the Aqidah, for example. Should be all fine, there's no issue with it.
Sheikh, we've answered this question before, but for the benefit of the doubt of this viewer, quickly, why do we Shias not pray Taraweeh?
Because that's not part of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. This was innovated in the time of Umar ibn Khattab, when he saw that people are gathered in the mosque of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, praying each separately, furada, nawafil, mustahab salah at night. He said, let's gather them and let's do it in jama'ah. And he's so-called Khalifa of Rasulullah, as he claims. So that's why he initiated this salah of Taraweeh. He made it up.
So we don't have any authentic narrations to say
not
that.
Not at all. You can't pray
Rasulullah or A'immah
not at all. You can't pray a mustahab salah in jama'ah.
That's true.
It's not allowed.
That's true.
Except for the Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, which were previously wajib salah in the presence of the Imam al-Ma'sum alayhi salam.
Yes.
Otherwise, you can't pray the namaz al-shab jama'ah. This is bid'ah, as Umar he says. Bid'ah, ni'mat al-bid'ah. He praises this bid'ah. What can you do?
Fair enough. And on that note, Sheikh, now let's go to a short break, and inshallah we'll continue our discussion here on Ahkam SOS after a short break. Thank you very much.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars
permissible
at
to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the
established
based on peace and
Is it permissible
non-violence.
to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it
individuals?
permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there an
countries?
issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. And there were the ways that you can send in your questions via the WhatsApp, the email address. Give us a phone call live in the studio, 0203515099. MashaAllah, we've had a couple of callers already. Please don't feel shy. Pick up the phone. We're not going to ask you your name or where you're calling from. We're just going to ask you your question to the Sheikh, inshallah. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, send in your questions in the comment section. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to answer your questions. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh, we've had some questions over the past couple of days where we haven't managed to answer them, and you went back and did your research. Alhamdulillah, you managed to do some research now and have the answers, so I'm going to hand it over to you, inshallah, and you can tell the viewers the answers to those questions.
Yes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There's a brother who asked about visiting the dentist, and as a result, he swallowed some liquid accidentally. Yes. The answer would be that if this individual was sure that nothing would go through his throat, then of course he can go and visit the dentist and do the checkups. But if something he swallowed unintentionally, it wasn't from, sometimes one becomes like compelled to swallow. Let me swallow it, it's too much liquid in my mouth. So that would of course break the fast intentionally. You know that you shouldn't swallow something. But unintentionally, some of the drops of these liquids went inside the throat. That wouldn't affect his or her fast.
Okay.
Unintentionally, yeah.
I see.
But if it's intentional, of course, it will break the fast, and you have to make up later. For the question about the individual who was praying behind an Imam Jama'ah, who recited, let's say, Surah Al-Alaq, which has wajib sajda. Yes. In this situation, as a ihtiyat, one should point to the sujood, imam. So point to the sujood when he hears that, or she hears that ayah of sujood. Point to the sujood, and the salah would be correct. Some would say do sujood after the salah when you finish. After this, pointing towards the turba or the sujood place. After salah or prayers again, do the sujood. Yeah.
Sheikh, we have a caller on the line. Inshallah, we're able to discuss their question. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. My question is, so I have some qaza namazes, right? Well, a lot, because in my past I never used to pray namaz, and alhamdulillah now I'm going into my faith properly and strong. And I was just wondering, in the month of Ramadan and in other months, what is better? Obviously, our qaza namazes is first, and we need to do them. But sometimes I feel like I should be praying like tahajjud namazes, but what is better for me? Should I, instead of tahajjud namaz or sunnat nafil namazes, should I just ignore that completely and just focus on finishing my qaza namazes? Or should I mix them up, so pray a bit of qaza, pray a bit of nafil namaz? What's the best thing regarding that?
Thank you very much, brother, for your question. MashaAllah. I mean, it's not just you. You're not alone. A lot of our brothers and sisters have qadha prayers that day. Oh, inshallah, Sheikhna will be able to answer your question now. Sheikhna, what is the priority qadha prayers or nawafil, mustahabat prayers, can you mix and match them sometimes? How about incorporating both together? For example, if you're doing tahajjud prayer, which is 11 rak'ah, maybe you could do a 4 rakat qadha prayer of dhuhr, a 4 rakat qadha prayer of asr, a 2 rakat qadha prayer of fajr, which is 10 rak'ah, and then you could do your one, your witr, your tahajjud prayer, meaning mixing and matching your nawafil and your qadha prayers. Is this acceptable?
There's no conflict between the qadha namaz and the current daily prayers and namaz and even mustahab namaz. Everything is separate, but make sure that you do those missed prayers as soon as possible as you can, especially in this holy month. Best time in the sahar time, in the evening times, in which the one is actually off the work, they had their own iftar and everything. So best time to start gradually praying, and even if you couldn't finish them in this holy month, what you can do after the Eid, you can start with each salah. You can even do it now, but let's say after Eid, if you want to continue praying other years of salah. With each salah, so you start with salat al-subh, you pray the morning prayer, add to it, or after the salah, the wajib salah, the on-time salah, 2 rak'ah qadha as well. Dhuhr asr, same thing. You finish dhuhr asr of the daily prayers, and then add to each of them the qadha salah. In this way, you can easily finish those years of qadha gradually. And when it comes to this holy month, of course, you can do a group of salah, 10, 10, 20, 20, and so forth.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Especially when you're ziyarah as well. Maybe
Exactly.
you go on umrah or...
Yeah, in your hotel, you have plenty of time. You can do so in the Grand Mosque of Medina, Mecca. And so
Definitely.
Sure.
Sheikh, do you have any other questions from previous that you wanted to
not at the moment,
discuss? No. Okay, fantastic. From WhatsApp, Sheikh now. What is the ruling on a man who wanted to divorce his wife but is not giving permission to the Sheikh to recite the divorce? He is not supporting her financially nor wanting to get back together. Due to the situation, if the wife asks for divorce, does she forego her mahar?
Basically, the best thing to do is to contact the office of the marja.
Explain the situation.
And they would give you the hukum, in other words, the permissibility for the lady to ask for divorce from the office of the marja, or the marja himself, for example.
Assalamu alaikum from WhatsApp. My question is regarding wudhu, especially on how to wash one's face. Is it a must to start pouring water from the top of the face, or is it okay just to throw water on the middle of the face and then spread the water in circles to cover the whole face? So I'm assuming either they're talking about from the top, like this, or to throw water and then begin like this and then start wiping around and so forth.
What is important is to wash. فَغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ is to wash. So drops of water should come down. It's not just to wipe. No, this is not masah. Wash, which means drops of water should come down from your forehead, for example. Just to wash the face, that should suffice, basically.
Very well. More from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum. Please advise, how can anger be controlled? I lose my temper very and not able to let go things easily. Does fasting become invalid if you hurt someone because of anger issues? Anger is a dangerous thing, Sheikh. As in, if you don't control it, it can really cause damage. As Muslims, we were always encouraged, to watch our anger. Even His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, in his akhlaq lessons, he emphasizes do not get angry. Don't get angry, because it will take you away from rationale. Sheikh, any advice for people who have anger management issues?
Indeed. A Bedouin Arab came to the Prophet ﷺ and he asked him to advise him. And the Holy Prophet answered, "La taghdab, don't get angry." Again, the Arab Bedouin asks him again for the advice. Again, the Prophet ﷺ said, "La taghdab." For 3 times, the Holy Prophet ﷺ told him, "La taghdab," because that is the key to the vices, the key to na'udhu billah, to killing someone, to harming someone, to hurting someone. So the one should avoid ghadab and angry, specifically in this holy month. This is the best opportunity in this holy month to quit all types of sins and bad manners and immoral acts in overall. I think the one can do so. It's just that you have to practice it gradually, one by one. Try to be less angry gradually, and then by the end of the month or the coming months, inshallah, you'll have, inshallah, a better situation.
Sheikh, a very, very controversial question here. I'll give you my answer. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I pray in a Shia mosque.
Yes.
But they don't recite Ali Waliyullah in Tashahhud. But I recite, so should I pray my prayer aside from Jama'ah or with the Jama'ah? Just say Ali Waliyullah separately. And that's from YouTube. I know in Pakistan, they're very, very strict with this. To a case that the main mosques in my area, they have to say Ali Waliyullah in the Tashahhud in prayer. Otherwise, there'll be riots. But Sheikhna, this person feels that Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah should be recited in the prayer. It's not recited in the Jama'ah. Should he pray separately, or can he pray with the Jama'ah and add it himself while he's praying?
As mentioned before, that this is the opinion of Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, Hafidhahullah, with regards to adding this statement in the Tashahhud, وَأَنَّ عَلِيًّا نِعْمَ الْوَلِي, that you can, mustahab to add this. It's not wajib. Other ulama would not accept it, as I said before, that the salah will be problematic. You can't add this in the salah. So there's no issue with it to pray in such mosque behind the imam, which is adil, just in terms of the adala. You achieve the adala of that imam, then you can pray behind him. There's no issue with it. As I said, this is the mustahab part to be added, and by only few ulama, not all the ulama. They don't agree upon this mas'ala.
Fair enough. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. If I cannot break my fast with dates because I have to take medicine on an empty stomach at the time of the end of the fast, is it okay? Thank you very much. Using administering medicine, having medicine on empty stomach before, or eating something, is that okay for you to open your fast with a tablet?
Anything that breaks the fast, that opens the fast, in other words, doesn't matter. Of course, the encouraged ones are the warm water and, for example, the dates. But in overall, you can break with anything. You can open your fast with anything, even the tablets, for example.
From YouTube, Sheikh, during Iftar, I put a date in my mouth, but it wasn't time to open my fast yet, and involuntarily the sugar water of date got swallowed in my fast. Is my fast valid or not?
This masala has a bit of details with this regard, that who did he rely? I think we mentioned yesterday that one of the masail in which requires the qada of the fast, if somebody relied on, let's say, his children, for example, 10 years old child, for example, for the timing of the Maghrib, and he opened his fast by relying on this individual, in his son, for example, his daughter, in which you can't 100% trust them because they're children, they can't be accurate in these timings, and they might be reading, let's say, 10th of April, but they're reading 10th of March. Or 10th of May, for example, mistakenly. You have to make sure that, in this situation, they have to do the qada, because they've relied on somebody who is not, you can't really trust 100%. So it depends the mas'ala. If this is the situation, then it requires qada, of course. If not, then there's no issue with it.
Ahsan. Sheikh, now we've got a phone call from one of our viewers, inshallah. Let's just try and help them with their query. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Okay, I think we're having some technical difficulties there. If you could call back, inshallah, we'll be able to get you through, and inshallah you can ask your question to the Sheikh. Sheikh, now back to the YouTube questions. Was Adam and Hawa in a garden in earth or in heaven?
There's lots of opinions with this regard, that what is that heaven? Is it the heaven in which the believers will go on the Day of Judgment? No, because that heaven, this grand heaven, let's say, the main heaven, is where the one would go and he would never come out. If you go inside, he won't come out. So that was a different heaven, the heaven in this dunya, and somehow Allah knows where exactly. Was it a different planet, for example? Allah Ta'ala.
Sheikh, now we got a phone call, inshallah. We're to get through this time. Assalamu alaikum. Your name? Oh, not your name. Assalamu alaikum. Are you there?
Wa alaikum assalam. Yes, I'm here. So I had a question about fasting, and so I was praying all night, and what happened is I had work, so I worked, and then I went to sleep, and then what happened is I missed Iftari, meaning that it went past the time. So I was just wondering, is there like a deadline that you have to open your fast, or is it okay? Because obviously in the Sunni school of thought, they say your fast gets battled if you don't open it straight away. So I was just wondering, like, is it better to pray Maghrib before you break your fast, or could you sleep and then break your fast later on? So what's the ruling on that?
Thank you very much for your question, brother. Really good question, actually, Sheikhna. Opening your fast, do you open it as soon as the Maghrib Adhan happens? Should you go pray Maghrib and then open your fast? Maybe you're asleep, you're having a nap, and you wake up an hour, 2 hours later. Can you open your fast then?
I mean, delaying the opening the fast shouldn't be a problem, but the problem is the one is not allowed to fast at night. That's important. The intention of fasting at night is not permissible. So you have to break it in somehow. I mean, eat or drink in somehow. But anyhow, as I've said, you can delay it. Sometimes you're somewhere at work, I don't know, traveling. You have no biscuits, no dates, no, I don't know, other means of that you can open the fast with. That should be fine, delaying it. But you are not allowed to fast at night as well. That is not part of our Sharia.
So basically, you shouldn't have the niyyah of fasting.
Exactly, at night, yeah, exactly.
Okay, excellent. Sheikhna, does fasting the holy month of Ramadan forgive all sins?
Definitely, we have many with this regard. I think in the ad'iyah or in the narrations that some of these acts in the holy month of Ramadan, some of the ad'iyah, some of the prayers that Allah would forgive the sins in this holy month. We have, I think, to free my neck from the hellfire. This mentioned some ad'iyah that to free me from the hellfire. Allahumma a'tiq raqabati min an-nar. That's important. This is the month for, yes, forgiving all the sins. It's the best opportunity and month for the one to basically ask Allah's forgiveness for all his sins, past sins. And yes, it's mentioned in the prophetic sermon as well with this regard, that ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for forgiveness and so forth. This is the month in which one should ask.
Good question here, Sheikh, from YouTube. If someone has Down syndrome, they currently don't pray or fast. If God forbids the person passes away, do we need to get the missed fast and prayers done by someone in India, for example? That's on YouTube. So this person, had Down syndrome, which is a condition which also affects the mental capacity of someone. They didn't pray, they didn't fast. Maybe they were exempt. Now they've passed away. Their prayers and their fast, do we have to get someone to do the qadha for them or not?
What we have a mas'ala that I was preparing for tonight, that if let's say somebody who is mentally ill or God forbid insane, for example, in which he recovers from his insanity, in other words, he regains consciousness and he regains basically awareness after being in this situation mentally. He's not required, or she's not required to do the qada of the fasting that they have missed, because their situation was in a way that they were exempted.
Yes.
Like the children, exempted from fasting in the age of, let's say, 6, 7, 8, exempted from fasting. So yes, I mean, for such individuals who are in this situation, they're exempted from fasting. Qada ala kull hal. If they're exempted, then of course there's no qada for them, because now they're exempted from the situation. But if this is the situation similar to this one, yes, otherwise we have to see what kind of illness the situation is.
Sheikh from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Alaikum assalam.
What is the significance of reciting Dua and Mujir on the 13th, 14th and 15th of Ramadan? And should it be recited during the eve of 13th, 14th and 15th, or the day of? That's on WhatsApp.
A great reward mentioned in the Mafatih Jinan that I was reading yesterday. In anyhow, I think forgiving sins or something like that, or qada hajj or similar to these issues. Anyhow, it is mentioned on the day, 13th day, 14th day, 15th day. But as I've said before, you can recite it for the whole month of Ramadan, because we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla every night to save us from the hellfire, to ajirna min nar ya mujir. So you can recite all nights, but specifically on the days of ayam al-bid, specifically.
Sheikh, I think we've got time for one more question before we end the show. I'll take it from YouTube. I actually quite like this one. Is it allowed for a single mum to work without hijab?
No, the hijab is wajib. And if she can't find a job without hijab, she's not allowed to work. If she can feed herself and the children, she must stay at home in this situation, because hijab is wajib. Unless severe or compelled situations, must ask the marji' to see what can be done. Maybe not taking off the whole hijab, but to what extent they can actually deal with.
Ahsan. Sheikh, final thoughts before we end the show.
Laylat al-Jum'ah, try to recite dua al-Quran this tonight. Ziyarat al-Hussein alayhi salam, don't forget, from own homes and houses towards Karbala, do the Ziyarat al-Hussein alayhi salam tonight. May Allah accept your deeds and ziyarah, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, Sheikhna, for all your efforts and your time. And thank you to all the viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. I have at least 15-20 questions which I did not answer today. I do apologize. We ran out of time. We were so busy. However, inshallah, these questions we will answer on tomorrow's episode, 5:10, here on Imam Hussein TV3, Sky Channel 789. Join us then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Gather queries of your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh and Ramadan Kareem. The Imam Hussein Charity will be running its food basket campaign again this year, giving you the opportunity to help destitute and impoverished families throughout the whole of Iraq and Afghanistan. Each food basket contains essentials such as rice, flour, dried lemons, tea, fruits and vegetables, oil, tomato paste, dates, and much more. Each basket is £25 and can feed a family of 4 for up to 10 days. You can feed a family of 4 for the whole of Ramadan for only £75. You can donate via bank transfer, PayPal, or visit us at www.imamhusseincharity.com.
With more and more victims of war and poverty, the Middle East has seen a surge in patients seeking medical aid. Iraq alone has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point. Imam Hussein Charity aims to help provide a better future for these impoverished patients, aiding them with finances for their prescriptions as well as dialysis of their kidneys. You can help our brothers and sisters with purchases of prescriptions for just £20, and for £200 help a patient with a dialysis procedure. To donate or for more information, visit www.imamhusseincharity.com.
This holy month of Ramadan, we bring you the biggest talent show for the Shia community. A fantastic opportunity has been given to the contestants to introduce their voice to the world. The show aims to find the most talented vocalists, speakers, or reciters and encourage them to achieve their potential by serving the Ahlul Bayt. World-renowned experts are taking part on this brand new series who will be advising our contestants and helping them in this significant show. Join us by following this initiative to see our talented contestants compete to become the first Shia voice. Exclusively on Imam Hussein TV.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh and Ramadan Kareem. The Imam Hussein charity will be running its food basket campaign again this year, giving you the opportunity to help destitute and impoverished families throughout the whole of Iraq and Afghanistan. Each food basket contains essentials such as rice, flour, dried lemons, tea, fruits and vegetables,